Good day, everyone. Meteorologist Mark Molnar here. Glad to have you here with me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Look at what's going on here. There is a major pattern change in the air. It does look like spring is actually going to be here very early, especially across the east. We're going to get into all the pattern changes. Are we done with winter storms? We'll break that down for you as well. And as we progress towards the rest of February into beginning of March, could we actually be looking at much more warmer conditions, as it looks like the polar vortex just doesn't have it this year? And are we heading towards a period of a blasting furnace firecracker ridge averaging out across the next 3 to 5 weeks? We'll get into all the details of what the rest of February and beginning of March could look like as well. Let's get into it. All right, so let's take a look at our upper air pattern. It's a mega inferno ridge, a furnace blast, as many of you said in the comments section previous video. Yeah, look at this. This is kind of fooling us here into thinking that there's a massive trough. Don't get me wrong, there is a massive trough developing across the east, especially for later Friday and Saturday. But, you know, this just doesn't... Look how fast it weakens. It fizzles out. It's replaced by a mega. Look at this ridge as we head through the end of February. This mega block going on as we head into the first part of March. And look at this. Yeah, there's a little trough coming through, but honestly, it just does not look that impressive. And as we take a look at our CFS medium range climate forecast model, we're going to pick it up. Let's see. Let's take the previous run here because all of them is not compiled. Look at this. So as we head through the rest of March, look at this. This is what we're featuring here. Yeah, we could have some low pressures winding across the south, but if you look at the overall pattern across the east, we're looking at a massively early spring for much of the East Coast. And look at that. Yeah. It's just not looking conducive for any big-time snowstorms. And I'm even a little skeptical of this. This is right around the 21st. This would be right around the first day of spring. It's really hard to get accumulating snow that time of year. And look how quickly it's replaced by these mega ridges. All right, so starting off with the GFS, and we'll transition to the Euro and the HRRR future radar. You can see as we head throughout the rest of, say, the rest of the week here, we have actually... as we head through Thursday here, we have rain breaking out across much of the Ohio and Tennessee river valleys here, and then some wet snow maybe mixing in, especially the higher elevations of upstate New York and eventually into New England there as we head through the overnight Thursday night into Friday morning. You can see rain showers ending here in the Ohio Valley, heading over towards parts of the Carolinas. That heading up to the northeast, it's going to become a bigger deal to New Brunswick and Nova Scotia area. You can see what's going on here with the snowfall as we head into Quebec as well. Looks like Nova Scotia is going to switch completely over to all rain. May have some backside snow here into parts of New Brunswick as we continue to go into 4 a.m. This is on Saturday morning, the 24th. So watch out there into parts of Southeast Canada. Our next week system, which was originally supposed to catch up with this system and energize it, which never actually happened here. You can see some snowfall breaking out across parts of the Ohio Valley, but it will not amount to much as it dives down here into the Appalachians. We may see a couple inches, especially at the higher elevations of the central and southern Appalachians here. So watch out for that as we head throughout Saturday and a Saturday night. You can see that storm bombing up here into parts of Newfoundland here and parts of eastern Canada. Now watch this. The west coast and western North America is going to become the hotbed here for big time storms moving into the area. And you can see here across much of the Ohio Valley, you can see this big surge of moisture with the next system. So we may have some showers and maybe some embedded thunderstorms as we head into parts of Monday of next week. Early Monday morning, we may have some wet snow on the fringe northeast of it here in the interior northeast, but that switches over to rain. This looks like a weakening system at this point. Another wave of low pressure rides along it. Watch this system, though, in the Four Corners region. This is going to get a Colorado low really going. Not too much to write home about in the Ohio Valley, Tennessee River valleys here. Maybe some light moisture moving in, so we're not looking too bad here across the east as far as inclement weather. Just a lot of showery type weather as we head towards the end of the month, the 28th. The only wintry weather you can find here is in parts of the upper Midwest. You have to be well northwest of Chicago and Detroit, though, to get into it, because look at this slug of moisture. Heavy rain moving into the area, maybe some embedded thunderstorms by this point, and you can see just wave after wave of low pressure rides along it as we get towards the last day of February here. We may have some colder air filtering in on the backside, places like Indianapolis, Toledo, Detroit, and London, Ontario here. So Cleveland, you might start to mix with some rain and snow here, but I don't know. It's a long shot to get any sort of wintry. Now, it is interesting that this low pressure takes a more track further inland here, actually maybe towards the coastline here, which could filter in some snow on the backside. The problem is timing has to line up very perfectly between the rain and the snow line here, and it looks like most of the moisture will be outpacing this storm. It is interesting, though. Look, this is March 1st. It's still 10 days out here, 10 days plus. So something to keep an eye on. Could we actually have maybe a wintry system for interior sections? It's possible. But, you know, these models tend to lose this sort of stuff. Would not be surprised, though, if southeastern Canada really gets hit by something like this around this time frame, though. Nova Scotia, New Brunswick here, Newfoundland, you've really been getting hit. And look at that. That just blasts up here into the Canadian Maritimes as we head towards March 3rd. We get a return flow of moisture here off the Western Gulf towards Texas, so that could feed into a severe weather outbreak. And look at this low pressure system. It's tracking a little bit further to the south as we head into the southeast towards the first week of March as high pressure builds into the east coast. All right, and let's take a look at the European model here. There is that area of low pressure across the Ohio and Tennessee river valleys as we head throughout Thursday. You can see the rainfall moving across the east. Most of this is rain. The exception is the higher elevations of upstate New York heading on into northern New England. That is going to be the big story, but it's not going to be like massively big winter storm by any stretch of the imagination. You can see this moves off the coast, so you can see 4 a.m. on Friday morning, rainfall continuing across the northeast. That kind of moves out of the picture for Friday afternoon and evening as that low pressure gets cranking here across Nova Scotia. Now, what is our next storm looking like? The weekend, you really clear out here. You do have that cold shot behind it on Saturday, but look at this as we head throughout the 27th into the 28th. By any stretch of the imagination, this is pretty quiet, especially heading on into late February and early March. You can see we do have a big area of low pressure coming out of the Colorado area, but that's going to push southerly winds, and any of this moisture across the Ohio River Valley, eastern Great Lakes, interior Northeast is all going to be in the form of rain as we head through the last couple days here of February. It's just that northern fringe here where we could see some snowfall piling up. But you can see that low really getting cranking just west of Detroit here. And we could be looking at a severe weather outbreak here for much of the southeast. So this is something we got to keep a very close eye on as we head throughout the last part of the month here beginning. Look at that. There could be a squall line all the way up into parts of Ohio and Tennessee river valleys here. This is something we need to keep a very close watch on. I will keep you posted on this. Look at that. That heading to the east here could get some pretty convective, interesting wind gusts here with any of those heavier precipitation bands. Definitely looking at damaging wind gusts. This is the 29th as we head into the 1st of March. That heading up into the Canadian Maritimes. And I'll show you that momentarily on my Canadian weather outlook. I'll showcase some of these storms that are really going to be hitting southeast Canada here. High pressure builds in. You can see the west coast of North America. That is where the big show, however, is going to be as we head into early March. All right, so let's get into our future radar here. What is going on? So it's not a whole lot happening here until we get to about, here we go, 5 a.m. on Thursday morning. Look what's happening. We have some showers. We may actually have a few embedded thunder showers and thunderstorms from parts of central Illinois to southern and central Ohio here. So it's a trend we'll keep an eye on here. Look at the fringes here in north central Pennsylvania. We could get some, mixing with some of the wet snow. But look at this. The big story is going to be some of these embedded thunder showers moving across the area. Some heavier downpours are possible as we get into this region. You're getting upwards of an inch to about an inch and a quarter. This is 2 p.m. on Thursday afternoon. You can see some of the heaviest rain moving across central and southern Indiana, Ohio, and parts of southwestern Pennsylvania. Now look at this. The highlands of central Pennsylvania in northeast Pennsylvania. You may be actually getting some heavy wet snow in some of these areas, so you might pick up a couple slushy inches, not out of the question, the Poconos and parts of the Catskills and Adirondacks as well as we head towards 7 p.m. Thursday evening. Look at here, HRRR kind of bringing the snowfall. I still think this is going to be mainly elevation dependent though, especially if you're above that 1,500, 2,000 foot level. You can see parts of the southeast here too. Let me just roll those thunderstorms through parts of the Tennessee River Valley. Some of these could get a little frisky and thundery here, gusty winds, some hail potential, so watch out for that. I'm not expecting a major severe weather outbreak, but look at that. That dives southward, and we may on the northern fringe, this is 9 a.m. on Friday here, we may actually see some wet snowflakes here on the northern fringe of this system here as it gets cranking off the East Coast. But by any stretch of the imagination, as we head through Friday afternoon, this just, I don't know. It's not looking like a major winter storm at all. And as you can see, we progress through the rest of, say, the week into the weekend. Yeah, we do get a cold snap here across the Northeast. You can see as we head into Saturday and early Sunday morning in particular. But, you know, look how quickly we rebound temperatures across the east as we head towards the 27th into the 28th. Look at this massive warmth blasting eastward. Now, you do get some cold snaps here, but by any stretch of the imagination, all the major cold air is way bottled all the way up into northern Canada here. Now, towards March 2nd, you do get a little bit of an intrusion, but unfortunately, we just haven't had good luck with moisture meeting up with these cold air blasts to give us any decent major snowstorms. All right, so if we take a look at your liquid precipitation totals here from the Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, towards the southeast and even into the northeast, as we go through the last part of this week, you can see, look at this. We're looking at totals approaching that 1 inch, 3/4 to 1 1/4 inches, especially from central Ohio and southwestern Pennsylvania here, and then further lighter amounts here into much of the interior northeast, upwards of 1/4 to 1/2 an inch. Down here into the Tennessee River Valley, that's where we could see up closer to an inch as well over to North Carolina. Now, as we continue to go in time here, let's just progress this. You can see, yeah, as we get towards maybe the late part of the month into late next week, towards the 1st and 2nd of March, we're going to have a big system. We're going to watch these systems start to pull up from Colorado up towards the Midwest. That's going to draw a lot of rainfall as we continue through the end of the month into the beginning of March. And here's our liquid equivalent precipitation. This is mostly in the form of liquid, although some of this on the front end up here into northern New England will be snowfall. You can see here across parts of central Ohio, southwestern Pennsylvania, that is where we're seeing about an inch to maybe up to 1.25 inches here. Snowfall amounts do not look very impressive back east here. Yeah, this is mainly on the front edge of the system Friday night into, say, there we go. So we're looking at really early morning Friday here for the most part. Let's just back that up. There we go. So you can see interior northeast. This is not going to be like major storm material at this point. It's just not materializing. It looks like spring really wants to come on in a big way. That's pushing all this snowfall total way up here into northern Ontario and Quebec. Look at even out west here. We're only looking at a little bit. Let's go out in time though. That is where you're going to see the snowfall as these Colorado lows get cranking next week towards the first part of March here, even in the Rocky Mountains. It's just not looking very conducive back east here. Snowfall amounts do not look very impressive back east here. Yeah, this is mainly on the front edge of the system Friday night into, say, there we go. So we're looking at really early morning Friday here for the most part. Let's just back that up. There we go. So you can see interior northeast. This is not going to be like major storm material at this point. It's just not materializing. It looks like spring really wants to come on in a big way. That's pushing all this snowfall total way up here into northern Ontario and Quebec. Look at even out west here. We're only looking at a little bit. Let's go out in time, though. That is where you're going to see the snowfall as these Colorado lows get cranking next week towards the first part of March here, even in the Rocky Mountains. It's just not looking very conducive back east here. And if you want to take a look at that on the GFS as well, you can see this is later Friday night, or say Thursday night into Friday morning. You can see interior parts of the Northeast, some wet snowflakes, especially elevation dependent. Let's take a zoom in here. So here we go with the GFS, and I'll show you the European model. So yeah, this is going to be mainly the front edge of this system. It will be changing to rain in most areas, but look at that. You could see advisory criteria, especially above 1,500 feet here. As we take a look at the European model, there it is. You know, a solid 2, 3, maybe 4 inches here, especially into northern New England, higher elevations, parts of northern New York as well. All right, so getting into your Canadian forecast outlook here. What is going on here? It is going to be very active on both coasts. We do have a little bit of a clipper moving through parts of Ontario and Quebec, northern areas as we head throughout the rest of Thursday into Friday. But the big story is going to be this storm. Of course, there's the West Coast storm continuing to plow moisture westward here. But look at what's happening here on the East Coast. Once this storm gets cranking, it's going to be too far past the east coast of the U.S., but it's going to get some snow cranking here across parts of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. We'll get into those snowfall amounts momentarily. Look at that, and it brings rainfall all the way up into parts of Nova Scotia and Newfoundland here. Another disturbance moving through parts of southern Ontario and Quebec as we head through the 25th into the 26th. But look at here. We're going to continue the moisture train here into southwest Canada on the west coast, and that's going to continue that heavy snow well inland there. That's going to be pushing eastward here. We also have more moisture heading into parts of Nova Scotia towards the end of the month and New Brunswick as we head towards the 26th here. Now look at this. Central Canada, southern Canada, you could be getting some bouts of snowfall here. Nothing too terribly heavy though, but we're going to start to set up these Colorado lows, and that's going to get the snowfall cranking here across parts of Ontario and extreme northern Quebec. You can see rainfall moving all the way northward here into parts of southeast Canada. Now as we look at this. This is one of those mega storms here in the Gulf of Alaska. That's going to be pushing some snowfall here into parts of Western Canada. Now, as we continue to go in time here, let's see as we get through, wow, there it is. The end of February, beginning of March, another area of low pressure. It's going to keep, so we're going to start to erode the snowpack here in Southeast Canada as we head towards March. So this is going to be the common theme. Although we do have to watch out for this system. I'm not completely sold on this. This could be an East Coast storm, but it's, I don't know. I've seen these pop up time and time again, and they don't materialize. However, they have been materializing for Southeast Canada, so it's something we need to keep a really close eye on. Here in Western Canada as well, another system moving along the coastline here, producing heavy snow. Central Canada, unfortunately, high pressure. You do need some snow. The drought continues. Now look at as we get towards the 2nd. Yeah, we'll have to watch for some of these storms. You can really get some really blasting storms here across Eastern Canada as we get into the first full week of March. But look at that. Once we get past that system, it's looking much quieter. All right, so Canada, your snowfall outlook. Where is the biggest snowfall going to fall? Well, northern Quebec there. And obviously the west coast of Canada. That's been your big jackpot. Look at that. Just continuing to pile up the endless snow belt. Now look at here across Eastern Canada and Southeast Canada. Nova Scotia, you're not looking that impressive. You're going to get these low pressures that move just over you or just to your west. Even southern New Brunswick. But northern New Brunswick heading on into Quebec and Ontario, look at that. As we head towards the end of the month, yeah, we could be looking at some snowfall on the order of 20 to 40 plus centimeters here. So something to really keep an eye on here. The trend is warmer for Nova Scotia, but look at inland here. Unfortunately, I can't say too much for you, Toronto. It just doesn't look like anything's going to materialize. And if you're in the west coast of Canada or even inland here, look at this. Blockbuster snowfall. All right, so the tropics. I didn't want to leave you guys out. the only activity in the short term here appears to be some big-time storms on the tail end of this frontal boundary as we continue through Thursday and into Friday as well. We could be looking at some gully washers out here. I'll get into rainfall amounts, but look how quiet it is as we head through the end of the month. We just have, this seems to be like our trouble spot here. Puerto Rico, Northern Lesser Antilles, the Virgin Islands, even as far westward here as Dominican Republic. Look at the Bahamas. Cresting high pressure as well as Jamaica. Look at this. Yeah, so it's basically the eastern Caribbean here. You're going to continue to get these showers. The stalled out frontal boundary just does not want to go away for you guys over here. And that kind of pivots a little bit westward here. We're getting some kind of backlash low pressure system that's going to increase the moisture here across the Caribbean. We're also getting a little tropical wave down here in parts of Nicaragua and Honduras towards the 29th and into March 1st. You can see we kind of pick up a little bit of moisture here into Central America as we have a little disturbance moving across. And look at, here's another tail end of a front here across the Southern Gulf. It is going to kick up some showers here on a little bit of a, this type of flow pattern here, convergence going on from Jamaica over to the Cayman Islands towards March 2nd. All right, rainfall amounts here across the Caribbean, they do not look that impressive. In fact, as we continue through the rest of the week, you don't really see too much here. Maybe Costa Rica down there, but look at that. You have to get towards the end of the month here. That's where we start to get rainfall here, eastern areas of Jamaica, Central America, but even then, we're not looking at too much here. Here it is, the big story for rainfall here. You're going to continue to see it, even though, Puerto Rico looks like the big winner for rainfall here. So as we head throughout the rest of the week here, you can see rainfall from the Dominican Republic will average about 4 to 10 millimeters here on average. That's not more than a quarter to a half an inch, but look at that. As we get towards the end of the month, that's where that stalled out frontal boundary with associated low pressure here to the north could start a surge of moisture upwards of 35, maybe as high as 60 millimeters of rainfall, 1.5 to 2 inches. I got plenty more weather for you in just a moment, but take a look at my affiliate. Do you want some awesome maps? Check this out.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
So temperature-wise here, let's take a look at your Thursday. Yeah. Winter is pretty much bye-bye at this point. Look at this. 80s across eastern Texas and Louisiana. Look at this surge of warmth. This is what the models were not picking up so much on about a week ago. But this is completely the opposite, of what many expected. I mean, there is a cold shot up here, but this is a stretch, people. This winter is pretty much over at this point. Look at the surge of warmth here across the mid-Atlantic, well into the 60s, even some 40s and 50s here across parts of the Ohio Valley. Into Saturday, yeah, this is about the only major cold, but it doesn't line up with any moisture. So that moisture will be trucking it pretty fast up here to Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, where you have a better chance likely of getting some of the snow on the backside of the system. But look at, yeah, we'll get some cold air. I'm sure there'll be some lake enhancement, but it doesn't look too terribly impressive at this point. Texas is mostly all in the 70s here. This is just going to build. Watch this as we head into Sunday. Look at this. This is probably going to feed into some mega severe weather outbreaks here as we go into the coming weeks. Look at this. Into Monday, February 26th. We are just building the heat. Look at that. Mid to upper 80s here across central and southern Texas. It's the west that's getting this colder pool of air. And then as you head throughout the Ohio Valley, look at this. We're getting into the upper 50s and right around 60 degrees as we head into Tuesday. We're just going to surge that warmth northward here. We do have some cold air on the northwest side of these Colorado lows as they track up. And look at this, a warming trend to the northeast as we break well into the 50s. Extended outlook from hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton, for Susquehanna River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania. Take a look at this. For Thursday, rain is moving in by afternoon. Windy conditions up to 1/10 of an inch. Temperatures will be making into the 40s Thursday and Friday, with rain continuing into Friday, about 1/3 of an inch continuing, and then before tapering off in the evening. Windy conditions Saturday, blustery and colder, 22 only for a high. Sunday warming back up to 42 and then 48 for Monday. As always, I want to thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also at Weather Northeastern, also at Hurricane Northeastern, and also at Susquehanna Weather. Also Twitter at Weather Eastern, and you can visit me at MeteoMark.com. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to check out my winter weather outlook for 2023-24, a link in the description down below, as well as my affiliate, Trilogy Maps.